Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. As you can see by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about televangelists losing their minds over the recent 2022 midterm elections. Now, if this is the first you're hearing of it or you're unfamiliar with the situation, let me give you a basic bottom line explanation of what's going on. Televangelists, or let me rephrase, Republicans in general, in fact, everybody expected a red wave. They all expected Republicans to run away with it in the recent election, because it's usually what happens when there's a Democrat in power during the midterm elections in their first term. The Republicans take it away. Same with Republicans being in power. Trump's first midterm election as president, Democrats took the House and the Senate. That's typically how it works. But that's not what happened, interestingly enough. Republicans, by and large, stayed pretty much exactly the same as they were before. They won a few House seats, and they lost a Senate seat. And it was absolutely unexpected. The polls were reasonably accurate, but were indicating that there was likely to be a Republican takeover of everything. So it did take a lot of us by surprise. Well, televangelists are losing their minds over this right now. So I wanted to listen to their reaction to it. Now, I've covered a couple of clips from these guys from election night and the night after that. But this one is after a little bit of time had passed. People had had some time to stew on it and talk about it and think things through. At this point in time, I believe the New York Post and a bunch of other right-wing outlets started talking about the fact that Donald Trump is no longer anywhere near as powerful as he was before. The interesting thing about this is that these televangelists have tied themselves to Donald Trump. They've linked themselves inextricably. So the fact that Trump is losing power, I'm saying these guys have claimed him to be a messiah. I'm not being hyperbolic. They've used those words. So the fact that Trump is the weakest he's been in 6 years and a lot of the Republican Party is turning on him leads to interesting outcomes. It leads to interesting commentary from people like this guy, which is Hank Kunneman. He's friends with Kenneth Copeland. So I'll tell you what, why don't we talk about this video, and we'll watch some of it now that I've given you a basic rundown of the situation. This is a TV show called Flashpoint. It's on the Victory Network, owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland. And Gene Bailey, this guy right here, he's the host of the TV show called Flashpoint, okay? He gets guests on all the time, like this fine-looking gentleman right here. This is Hank Kunneman. And they have David Barton on and a bunch of other really, really famous pastors. So anyway, without further ado, why don't we watch this, see what they have to say for themselves. And while we do, we're going to play some Super Mario World. So this is November 10th when this came out.
America Stands. I'm Gene Bailey, and you are watching Flashpoint, but we're on the America Stands set. Ladies and gentlemen, so many great things have been going on this week. I know you were expecting a bigger red wave, but we've got some good news for you tonight. You're going to see what's really been going on that you haven't been hearing much about.
What's really been going on? Okay, tell me.
We covered a little bit of that last night. We're going to cover more of it tonight, that you can be encouraged, because what you're seeing is God moving. Remember, the Constitution, the American Constitution, is built on the premise from the bottom up.
Okay, see, I noticed this the other day when they were on their Flashpoint show, being really weirdly optimistic when there was honestly no reason to be. They very obviously lost miserably. They performed terribly in the election. There's no reason for them to be happy right now. But I think that they've started to realize, these are like the hardest of the hardcore Trumpist extremists that we're watching right now. The reason I believe that they're being optimistic is because they don't want to discourage their viewers. They've had enough bad news already, so they're going to try to I don't know, excite them, get them happy about whatever's happening. Let's keep listening, see what they say here.
So while we may not have seen some of these top races go the way we wanted, a whole lot of other races have been going the right way. So I'm telling you, stay with us. We're going to have a lot of good stuff to talk about. Stay encouraged because you're going to see this. Now,
honestly, the races didn't go the way that these specific people wanted at all. Like, not even a little bit. Yeah, Republicans took some seats, but you know who lost by and large? Election deniers and Trump supporters. Election deniers and Trump supporters failed miserably in the midterms. Almost all of the election deniers lost. I mean, there are still some election skeptics from 2020 that took House seats and stuff. But there was a clear message sent to the Republican Party, and that clear message was, we don't want Trump or Trump supporters in office. And that's exactly who these people are. That's what these people are all about. That's the whole bit here. So they lost unequivocally. I mean, these people lost. Republicans won. These people lost.
If you're not already sharing this program, I need you to go share it on all your social media right now. Go share that. Just share, post the link to this program. If you're on YouTube, after we're off the air, you won't be able to share it. So go post the YouTube link. Go post the Rumble link of this program, or you can always get the show at govictory.com/flashpoint. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram at flashpoint.army. I'm trying to hit all this stuff that Kurt always tells me to do. And you just need to follow us. Follow the Victory channel so we can see what's happening. All right. Right now, I want to bring in live from Omaha, Nebraska, Pastor Hank Kuhneman. Pastor Hank, how are you? This is Election Day +2. How are you tonight?
This dude is a deep, deep extremist. Again, he's a Kenneth Copeland friend, supporter, fan. Works with him frequently. Deep, deep extremist, this guy.
Yay, I'm doing great. America's doing great. Jesus is on the throne. And Pastor...
Your mom's doing great.
Gene, you are a machine. All these days that you've been doing this, I don't know, Flashpoint might be having to go every day. See, you're getting practice.
Yeah, that's right. We're doing great. Yeah. Well, I'd love to be able to go more nights. There's so much material. We could go 7 days a week. We're not, but we could.
Yeah.
We could do that. But yes, you're right. So, Pastor Hank, how are you feeling today with what's happened with the election 2 days later?
Well, again, you've got to go back to what God originally said before the moment. Sometimes...
You ready for the justifications and the false prophecies? They're about to lay them down.
We only look at the moment, and when it doesn't look like it goes a certain way, we forget what God said ahead of time. And if you've been tracking, the Lord said very clearly, in fact, we shared the prophecy, I believe it was last night, that the Lord said October 30th, that this particular midterm election would go, it would be disputed, undisputed, refuted, there would be steel.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so Hank Kuhneman at his church in Omaha, Nebraska, did a prophecy, a full-blown prophecy about these midterm elections. And here's the prophecy. It's going to be disputed and refuted or something like that. So once again, you would think that these prophets would learn from 2020 that this is a bad idea, right? To prophesy about Jesus and blah, blah, blah. You would think they would learn from their mistakes. But no, here we are. Once again, these people are prophesying that the election is going to be disputed and then refuted, and it's going to be given to the Republicans by the end of it. How many false prophecies are they going to do before their people just walk away completely? Honestly, this is crazy.
Some people would say, here we go again. Someone hanging their head in disappointment. But God said there would be victories and that He has taken this nation forward. And here's why I feel very, very good. God gave me a verse about 2023, and it just so happens to be Deuteronomy.
Oh, no. God gave him a verse about 2023 already? Okay.
6, watch this, verse 23. Here's what it says. God brought the nation of Israel out. So God's bringing us out to bring us in, the scripture says, to give us the land that he promised. That's exactly what God is doing. Lastly, God has a principle that we find in the book of Hebrews when it talks about the covenants. It's this: he takes away the old to establish the new. The way he does it is by a process. Exodus 23:30, when Israel was to take their land, God said, look, there's giants in there, but it's going to be a process, little by little. And I'm telling you, no matter any which way you look at it, there was some very good, deep-seated people that are going to help turn this nation around. And it's only going to get better to take these giants out.
It's only going to get better to take these giants out. I'm not really sure exactly what he means by that, but it honestly sounds like complete nonsense to me.
That's right. And, I have to remember, and we've talked about this, you and I, Pastor Hank, the difference between where we are today versus 2020, just how much more all of us even understand our government better, the way politics work, the way
That's true. A lot of these people do understand the government and how it operates and how, election systems work and stuff a lot better. And for some reason, bizarrely, they're still claiming election fraud. When are they going to get over themselves, honestly?
Offices, who's responsible. I never knew a sheriff had quite as much power as he does now, as I do understand now.
Right.
We've got in your Secretary of State and what they're over. We have all been educated for the last 2 years, so things are getting better. So be encouraged. Stay with this show this whole hour, especially if you've got any veterans in your home. We're going to honor them in the second part of the program.
When they say honor veterans, they mean they're going to, borderline worship the veterans. It's really weird and creepy how they do it.
We'll make sure you stick with us for that. There's some great stuff you're going to see. But right now, I know you're wanting to know what's the latest on the election and the election results. So let's go over to...
Yeah, so this is a few days old. They probably weren't aware at the time, but Carrie Lake, well, they certainly weren't aware at the time. Carrie Lake lost her election for governor of Arizona, which is absolutely fantastic news. We found that out recently. Really, really good.
David Barton and Chad Connolly. Hello, gentlemen.
I don't know Chad Connolly, but David Barton is a far-right extremist who has historically been very, very involved in the Christian nationalist movement. He's what I'm not 100% sure of this, but as far as I can tell, as far as I could track down, he is the guy that came up with the piece of propaganda that that separation of church and state isn't in the Constitution. Nonsense, of course. It's the First Amendment. I mean, it doesn't say the specific words separation of church and state. It's a reference to the concept of the First Amendment. That's what those words mean. But anyway, he came up with it. So he's a pretty heavy hitter in this movement and has been since at least the 90s.
Glad you're here, Chad. You look
very
nice.
Good to see you,
brother.
brother.
Like you've slept.
Hey, bro.
Okay, so, as we're getting going here, David, take us through with the Senate. Let's start with the Senate. Where are we?
The Senate, what happens is, and let's go to the Senate first. On the Senate side, the Republicans have 49, Democrats have 48. There's still 3 undecided out there.
Yeah, now Democrats have 50. And Georgia is a runoff.
Republicans, if they have 50, it'll be status quo the way it was. If they get 51, then things change in the Senate. Now, to be real frank, set expectations. If Republicans get the House and the Senate, nothing changes except they stop the bad stuff. Right. They cannot pass anything. All they can do is start stopping some of the bad stuff. So,
as if, Democrats have passed anything anyways. They can't pass anything because to pass a law, it has to have a majority in the House to vote on it, and then they have to have a supermajority in the Senate. It's called the filibuster. They have to have 60 votes in the Senate. Or maybe it's not supermajority. I think a supermajority is 66 votes. Well, anyways, Democrats wouldn't be able to pass anything anyways, regardless of whether or not they had the House. It's just complete nonsense what he's saying here, but okay. He's just trying to scare people.
If expectations are Republicans get the House and Senate, why didn't things change?
You're right.
That's not the process, not the way it works.
Right.
So the 3 that are out there, the runoff now is Georgia. 4 weeks from now, thereabouts, you'll have a runoff with Warnock and Herschel in Georgia. And so that one may or may not be important. These are the two right now. Nevada, Laxalt in Nevada is up at this point by 16,000 votes, but there's 50,000 left to count.
Yeah, Nevada went to the Democrat eventually, we found out, which is fantastic news. Republican took the governorship. Democrats took the Senate in Nevada. So,
Wow.
So he's been down most of the race. He's now up on top. Will he stay on top? Will he come down? We'll see. The other is Arizona. As of this morning, there's about 500,000 votes left to count. Carrie Lake says that, for example, in her case, those votes are breaking overwhelmingly, sometimes up to 80% in Republican direction.
no, at no point in time did they break 80% in the Republican direction. There was no district that did that. Some districts broke 57% from my knowledge. This dude's just making this up completely, which is kind of par for the course with David Barton. That's not unexpected.
You wonder, is there any reasoning why that would be that way?
Yeah, they're counting. They say that the early votes in Arizona go Republican, heavily Republican. And so that's what they're counting now, is those early votes. And counting them now.
Early votes do not go heavily Republican. What? No to all of this. It's just completely made up. Early votes and mail-in ballots go heavily Democrat. In-person day of votes go heavily Republican. They're just making this up entirely. Like, even basic facts they cannot be trusted on. This blows me away, dude.
If they're heavily Republican, they're breaking 4. If they counted the live night of stuff, like out of Phoenix, out of Tucson, that's going to be much more blue. So it's breaking now with that early voting. And if that's the case, Kerry thinks that Blake Masters, even though he's 5 points down now, he may actually win the Senate race there.
Nope, he lost. I love it. I'm just eating this up.
So if you get 1 or 2, that 50 would put, if they get 1, that puts it back to status quo. If they get another one, now they got the majority, and this is not as significant. If they get 1 over there, they've got to get this one to get the majority. If they lose both of these, they've got to get this one in Georgia just to be status quo.
So as I said, Republicans lost pretty much everything that they're saying here. Now, I'm really not even a Democrat, honestly. I'm just not for psychotic, unhinged, crazy people being in political power. That's all. I just don't want that. Unfortunately, that means voting with the Democrats most of the time, even though the Democrats have their share of crazies too. It is not even close to the kind of thing you see with Republicans, like not even close.
Right. So, all right, so we talk about Herschel Walker and Warnock. You know, they're going to a runoff. It's only like 30 days, so it's first week of December.
First week of December, that's
First
right.
week of December, runoff, and then that will determine. Now, the interesting thing about that race is there was that Libertarian candidate that was running there, so I think he took like 80,000 votes. I don't remember exactly, but he took a big chunk of votes. So now we're really going to be seeing what's going to happen. So you guys got to vote. Georgia, come on, home team. You guys got to get ready to go vote.
They desperately want that Senate seat in Georgia. You're just not going to get a majority. It's not going to happen. It's too late. That's what I meant to say. They may get the Georgia seat, but it's not going to solve your problems. You're not getting a majority in the Senate. And even if they did get a majority in the Senate, it's very unlikely that they would even be able to do anything because the president has veto power, which means Biden would have the ability to overrule any law that they wanted to push through unless they could override the veto, which I think the veto power it requires somewhere around like 66 or 70 votes or something. I don't even remember. 2/3 majority, I think. So 66, I guess.
And I think they're doing early voting in Georgia as well, so that's going to start really soon
and
as well.
this is one where we saw 2 years ago there were 2 runoffs the same way, and the turnout for the runoff was much depressed vote, much lower, 200,000 lower votes. So our guys have to make sure they get out. This is going to be right after Thanksgiving. People aren't thinking of politics after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but these people, like the people on screen here, David Barton and Gene Bailey and the others, they've made voting a religious mandate. They are Christian nationalists. They are extremists to the core, and it's deeply disturbing stuff. This is a requirement if you want to be in God's good graces or whatever. You are required in their mind to vote. It's just not good, man. Not good.
Although I guarantee you, the airwaves in Georgia from now to that election are going to be nothing but campaign ads.
Yeah, you might
both
not want to
sides.
turn on your TV.
You
on
vote early and leave the
mainstream
state so
media.
you can have a little peace for a while, but definitely vote.
Right.
Make sure you get out.
I ask you your opinion. You think Laxalt will pull out in Nevada?
He did not. He failed.
I think so, but people on the ground in Nevada don't think so. So it's that close.
Wow.
It's that close. We'll see. I think there's a good chance he pulls out in Nevada. Depends on where those votes came from. We heard this afternoon that some of those votes are still out of Clark County. That's Las Vegas. We thought that was already counted. If there are still votes coming out of Clark County, Las Vegas, they tend to be much more blue than the rest of the state.
Right.
You know what I find interesting? I find it so fascinating that these people are legitimizing the election and the results inherently by having these conversations, right? They're going through here talking about the votes that went through and what's left to count and all that other stuff. When they spend their free time or even their work time screaming about the vote being stolen, about people lying and cheating and Dominion voting systems and Hugo Chavez and all that other garbage. This is like a constant thing for these people, a nonstop diatribe that they're on. And weirdly, they seem to be trusting the vote here. They understand how this works fully. I don't believe for a second that they actually think the 2020 election was stolen. Not for a second.
If the votes are coming in from rural areas, I think Laxalt gets it.
All right, so there is your prayer target when we look at
Prayer target. I thought they've been praying for 2 years straight at this point. What happened? If they've been praying for 2 years straight, shouldn't this have been a red wave? Maybe this should be taken as a sign that God is not pleased with what you've been doing. You ever consider that one? You aren't getting what you want because maybe God's kind of pissed off at you. That doesn't even cross their mind. You know the answer they go with? The explanation they go with, rather than God is pissed off at you, is God is not actually all-powerful. Apparently, he's not powerful enough to be capable of changing election results. That is the answer that they go with, rather than God does not believe the same way you do. It just blows me away, their mindset here.
Remember, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, we need to pray the right votes, get all the correct votes, legal votes, get counted in a timely manner. And those of you in Georgia, vote. Make sure you vote and get your vote in for that runoff. All right, so let's go to the House.
Yeah, another thing when it comes time to do the election stuff, or when they're trying to get their people to vote, they usually stop talking about voter fraud for the most part because they realize that it depresses the vote. It makes their voters less likely to whatever. It makes them less likely to go out and actually vote because they think that it's a lost cause. They think, why am I even voting? There's no point here because they're just going to steal my vote anyways. So they'll say, if they do mention election fraud, then they'll also repeat the same BS over and over again. If you get out in high enough numbers, it'll override the algorithm, whatever the hell that means. It'll override the algorithm. So now that the election's over, it seems like their strategy is to be generally positive about things and say they really won when they absolutely did not. And they're going to talk about voter fraud all over again.
Yeah, Gene, thanks for having me. And lots to unpack here because a lot of things happen in the U.S. House. And, of course,
yeah, we know. We already generally know. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit and see what else they have to say because we got the results.
Governor's races that are still outstanding at this point.
All right, so that's a really quick recap of where we're at. So you can see there's good news out there, so don't freak out.
See, I told you, they're trying to be positive because they don't want people to get discouraged, basically. And they know if they're constantly fear-mongering, which is, a staple of their program, their TV show and their whole brand, honestly. That's what they're all about. if they know if they're really, really negative 24/7, people will be a lot less likely to vote or to tune in anymore. You got to have some jokes in there sometimes, I guess, and some positivity. So
take a deep breath, America, is what I said before. So we're going to take a deep breath, keep your faith engaged, and we're going to see God turn this. I'm telling you, it's going to end up good.
Why involve faith in this at all, honestly? Like, isn't this a losing, like, battle for them or whatever? Why do they continue to prophesy that God is blah, 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 whatever else? It just blows me away that they actually take a risk like this. Like, they know they're going to be wrong, but they continue to claim that God is going to come in and fix everything for them. I don't get it, honestly. I really don't.
Well, we're on the set of America Stands. A lot of people were here the other night. We wanted to come back up here because of what we're talking about. But most of all, because this is what you're talking about. We have had record numbers watching America Stands on election night. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing this with your friends at the Victory Channel. We put a lot into this every 2 years, as well as the primaries in between. So thank you for watching. Overwhelming response.
Okay, quit putting a puff in your in your audience's petticoat here. Just get to it.
Positive as we covered America on election night. All right, if you didn't see us on election night, watch this quick recap of what you missed. Watch. Welcome, everyone, to America Stands. This is the moment we've been waiting for ever since 2020, November 4th. You and I were looking forward to this day.
I believe in this election tonight, we will see that the people are not only expressing a...
Hey, that's Kenneth Copeland's daughter, Terry Copeland Pearsons. She is... I covered her the other day, actually, on my main channel. You guys probably seen it. It's one of my... it is my best performing video of all time, actually. It's just absolutely exploding at this immediate moment. I mean, I have videos with more views on them. I think I've reached 1.2 million views on a couple of my videos, 4 or 5 of them. But, yeah, this one is, like, exploding at the moment. So, anyway, yeah, Terry Pearsons. Interesting.
Vote.
Church is turning out.
Yeah, David Barton. You cannot convince me David Barton, of all people, guy speaking right now, is not aware that there was no systemic voter fraud in 2020. You cannot convince me of it. He knows how this works on a granular level. You cannot understand how this works and simultaneously believe that there is systemic voter fraud.
Poll watchers to put it polling places. There's a lot more eyes on this. It doesn't have the feel of 2 years ago.
What is God doing? I'll tell you what God is doing. He has been building a people in stamina and strength.
Oh, dude, Lance Walnut is absolutely terrible in every way.
And engagement. So God is putting us in this fight. Now look at that. We're winning. But we're winning because we're more engaged than we were last time.
That's right.
And if we keep staying engaged, we're going to win more and more.
We are, as believers, emboldened, empowered, and standing on our authority in the Word of God. This election will not be stolen.
No.
Corruption, you bow your knee. Your
God, I covered that clip on my recent video, too.
name to the name of Jesus, and we thank you and praise you and honor you for the victory this night for the United States of America.
This is not the time for the United States to fail.
Yes, exactly.
God is not through with this country.
No.
The time has come for change. This election is crucial. This country's stirred up.
They are.
And we're going to take this thing.
And we're going to take this thing. And look how that turned out, right?
Amen. We are going to take this thing. Welcome back to Flashpoint. As you can see, I magically have chairs here and guests. And, of course, you've already seen David Barton and Chad Connolly. But, Pastor Cheon, thank you, sir, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
You're usually in a little box on the monitor.
Yes, yes, I was on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know this guy. Never heard of him.
Great.
My hotel room, actually, to be honest with you. Yes.
It was great having you here. All right, so I want to show you this before we start talking about what's happening. Look at this tweet. This one is this is too good. This is why we have so much stuff to talk about. This is of DeLuca. If you've got that, guys, he was elected posthumously. I can't read it from the monitor that far away, but he won the election and he died several months ago. So,
Crazy.
Okay, I have no idea what they're talking about. There are no examples of somebody taking office despite having died or whatever other thing. There are procedures for people who were running in an election and then died. That is a situation that has happened before, even on a federal level. It's been, just about everything has happened. Every situation has taken place at one time or another, not just on a federal level, but like on a state level. So there are procedures for how things like this work. But guess what? These guys are claiming that there's voter fraud and using this as their pretext or their basis for that belief.
So, but you notice what is the end of it said right there, Jason, about a special election will ensue. So it just shows you where things are really. David, how can that happen?
Because people right now vote on perceptions. They don't know the individuals. They know nearly no names. They know this party or that party, and they think everyone with that party is polarized with that party, and that's just not the case.
Or, bear with me, how about this one? Let me knock this one around the old noggin. Do you think it's a possibility that maybe they didn't know that he died? Did you consider that one? Is this even real? Is this even a real story? These people like to make stuff up like this all the time. So I'm not even convinced that this is a real story. But if it is, people may not know that he died. They may know a lot about his policy positions and stuff and may not be aware that he died. These guys, David Barton and Gene Bailey, the people we're listening to right now, they tend to almost worship their leaders like they're a cult leader or something. It's bizarre. Like, look at how they treat Donald Trump. It is something else, dude. Something else. To not be aware of every intricacy of your leader's life down to like the minute, how they eat their eggs and everything is weird to them and not really something that they fully understand. That would be my guess for why these people think it's ridiculous that people didn't realize he was dead or whatever. Like, it's about policy a lot more with Democrats than it is with Republicans. Like, significantly more.
That's the problem progressives have, is they look at you as part of a group. God looks at you as individuals. That's the way the Constitution is set up. Every individual has rights. And our education system since the 1920s has been talking about groups.
Okay. Yeah, he claims to be a constitutional scholar. He's full of shit. He is not a constitutional scholar. He has no idea what he's talking about. He has a 4-year degree from Oral Roberts University, I think is what it is. Oral Roberts University. He's completely full of it. Has no idea what he's talking about. But you go out there and you claim to be a constitutional scholar and make stuff up like that 24/7, people eventually believe you. His degree from Oral Roberts isn't even in U.S. history or any of that stuff. His degree is in religious studies or something. I forget now. I looked it up not too long ago.
And so even in Nevada, one of the amendments they have, constitutional amendments we'll talk about later, but it's recognizing trans as a specific group in the Constitution. What are you going to do? Recognize left-handed, red-haired women as a group? I mean, where do you stop?
Yeah.
And so this is the problem Americans have is
where do you stop? Wow. We want to recognize trans people in the we want to recognize trans people as a protected class so they can't be discriminated against. And he's getting upset with that right now because where does it stop, right? You're going to recognize people with blue eyes next? As if trans people are not discriminated against. That's really the idea that he's trying to give us right now. Trans people are not discriminated against in this guy's mind. That's why he thinks it would be perfectly fine for people to not add trans as a protected class. Like any trans people are out here getting discriminated against in the workplace or whatever. Hey, fine. Then why don't you let us add it? If it's not a problem, if trans people are not being discriminated against in the workplace, let us add it. Who cares? Why do you care if it doesn't affect your life in any way? He knows full well how trans people are treated in the U.S. In fact, he's one of the people who perpetuates those stereotypes and that hatred. But this is, once again, a line of his propaganda. Anything he can do to convince people that he's actually the victim, and the people who are really the victims aren't actually victims at all.
It's a progressive mentality where we think about groups, that's BLM or whatever else, it's groups. You got to think about individuals. And there's some really good Republicans and there's some really bad Republicans, and you need to know who they are. And that's what we've got to get back to as individuals.
Rhinos.
That's good. All right. Well, we all know what happened in Pennsylvania, probably the biggest shock.
Fetterman won over Oz, Mehmet Oz. Yeah, that was actually a really big win, but it wasn't a shock, really. Oz was not performing terribly well in the polls. It wasn't super unexpected that Fetterman won. It was just a big win for Democrats. Let me guess. They're going to say that they cheated, right?
Is Fetterman winning and taking Pennsylvania from Dr. Oz?
I'm surprised they didn't say Fetterman cheating and taking it from Oz. That's what I expect from them.
This happened. You just got to see it. Play it.
Fetterman as a nominee at some point for president. I know there's some variables, obviously, just a few. But I just, what he did in the super red, deep red parts of Pennsylvania, and the way that he ran ahead of Biden, as you were saying, ran ahead of Trump. I mean, it makes you wonder about his future.
Makes you wonder about his future. Chad, do you think he's going to run for president?
Ooh, that's interesting. Every time they get whiff of somebody who may be trying to get some kind of political ambition, they do everything they can to break him down. And let me tell you why. This is the Republican strategy right now. Demonize the person that is running on the Democratic ticket. Make your audience hate them with everything in their body. That way, it doesn't matter what candidate we run. If we can get people to hate the Democrat more than they hate the Republican, then we've succeeded. That's kind of their strategy right now. So they smear and lie and twist things around and propagandize about the potential Democratic nominees that they see as a potential threat, so that they don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to win the election. They just smear them with everything they've got. So let's listen to their smears of Fetterman now.
I think MSNBC's become the new Saturday Night Live skit. It's just that's insanity, right? It shows you how far out there that network's gotten. It's really crazy they would even say that in a
But way. She said it with a straight face.
She did.
Yeah, okay, so they're just trying to make it seem ridiculous. Fetterman is honestly not even that bad. Fetterman is fine, whatever. He's okay, I guess. He's got his ups and his downs, just like any candidate, but he's not worshipped by the left. He's just a potential option for president at some point in the future. But it's all about a cult of personality with these people, remember.
Sad.
Sad, but if it was
sad, as Trump would say, sad.
Wasn't so sad, it'd be funny.
You're right.
It's crazy where we're at. All right, so let's talk about what's happening. Pastor Jay, let's talk about California, your state. Of course, we all know the wonderful news of what you won, the lawsuit you won back during COVID. When looking back now, 2 days ago with California, how do you believe things went?
Well, in California, it's been, and just to be honest,
Who the hell is this guy? Senior pastor, Harvest Rock Church. Never heard of this guy before. Did he do some extreme shit and that's why they're getting him on now? That's my guess.
Discouraged by Proposition 1 gaining momentum.
Right. Now explain what Proposition 1 is.
Proposition 1 would be codifying abortion, late-term abortion, last day of the 9th month into our state constitution.
Oh, you must be joking. Proposition 1. Okay. First of all, nobody actually wants to have an abortion on the last day of pregnancy, 39 weeks and 6 days. Nobody wants that. That is not something that Democrats are fighting for or have ever fought for. We've been trying to codify abortion protections in place. Let's see. Prop 1, California. Let's just look it up and see. I'm curious now. Adds the right to abortion and contraceptive use to the state constitution. That's all it is. Prop 1. Adds abortion protections to the state constitution. California Constitution guarantees everyone the right to privacy, does not define what this right includes. California Supreme Court's found this right to privacy includes the right to make reproductive choices, such as whether or not to have an abortion or use contraceptives. In addition, state law was later passed to expressly protect those rights. So Prop 1 was basically to put abortion rights, like write them directly into the state constitution. The California Constitution would be changed to expressly include existing rights to reproductive freedom, such as the right to choose whether or not to have an abortion and use contraceptives. Okay, so Prop 1 is not the right to have an abortion up to 39 weeks and 6 days. It is to have abortion rights, full stop. That's what it's all about. And these people are out here propagandizing and spreading the idea that Democrats are out here trying to get abortions on the 39th week. This is a non-existent problem. This is something that, as far to my knowledge, has never happened in the history of ever. I don't think anybody has ever had an abortion at 39 weeks and 6 days. Willing to be proven wrong on that, but I've never heard of this before, unless there's some serious medical situation where somebody is about to die. That is the only situation in which I can imagine that happening.
And once that happens, it's just like codifying it in our U.S. Constitution. It's very hard to reverse. And so we have a supermajority of Democrats. It's like a communist nation, one party. And
a supermajority is like a communist nation. There's only one party in power ever. This guy lives in a delusional fantasy land if he thinks that California is like a communist nation at all.
And so 75% of Californians are Democrats or independents, and the independents, even the Republicans. For example, we have 40 state senators, but just 9 of them are Republicans, and half of them are rhinos, Republican name only, because people just
half of them are rhinos. That means non-Trump supporters in their mind. That means they don't agree with me, so I'm going to scream and cry about it like a child, like a snowflake, like a petty little snowflake that can't handle any pushback or anything like that.
Compromise, capitulate to what the society is dictating to them, that you have to be for same-sex marriage, you have to be pro-abortion. And so I'm not...
Dude, you don't have to be for that stuff. There's no, like, law in California that says if you're a Republican, you are mandated to be in favor of these things. You don't have to be. Just don't expect to win your election if you're not. This is the will of the people. This is called democracy. Do you not understand how this works? Are you kidding me?
Not surprised that people sign it. And to me, it's an indictment on the church.
It is.
We have failed. And I feel, again, just 2 Chronicles 7:14 comes to my mind. And I think it's really interesting that we've been in a major drought since Newsom became governor. And we've had fires. We have just millions of dollars because of just poor management.
Wow, dude. This is like borderline anti-Semitic conspiracies right now. I think it's quite the coincidence that we've had a drought and fires since Gavin Newsom has become the governor. Isn't that odd? Really strange. Anybody think that maybe Gavin Newsom is secretly causing these fires and droughts? Who's to say? We'll never know.
By the governor. But I think it's beyond that. I think there's a curse on our state because...
There you go. It's a curse on our state because Gavin Newsom is demonic. He's basically a Satan worshiper. Like he's a member of the Church of Satan, a high priest in the Church of Satan, just like Hillary Clinton, right? Is that the whole bit right now?
There's something about, biblically speaking, about hands that shed innocent blood.
Right.
And Proverbs 6:16 says there's 6 things the Lord hates, which is a strong word. I tell my kids when they're growing up, don't use the word hate. Right. You know, just don't say, I hate broccoli. Just say you dislike it.
I dislike broccoli.
Yeah, right, okay.
Thank you very much.
But he says,
amen.
But he says 7, which is an abomination, which is a stronger word.
I don't
and
like okra either.
One of them is hands that shed innocent blood.
Right.
And so we're seeing that, and he's not just pro-choice. He is pro-abortion.
Right.
He has put up, as you know...
I'm pro-abortion, personally. I understand that he's using that as a point of propaganda against people, but yeah, I think that abortion is actually a good thing. That it should be more widespread than it is. And it's a shame that more people are not getting abortions. Instead, they are struggling with it, and they feel like a moral battle in their minds to not do it, and as a result, people are suffering terribly. I think that abortion should be a lot more widely available and a lot more common than it is, because it's no more than a clump of cells. There is no difference between scratching my nose and getting an abortion at a certain point. Now, eventually, that changes. Eventually, it's something that you should take a lot more seriously, and people's line changes depending on who you're talking to. My personal line is about 13 to 14 weeks when you should start taking it a lot more seriously. But I would fight for Roe v. Wade to be reinstated, which is 20 weeks. I think people should be able to do that.
Billboards in 7 red states saying, come
He's put
to
it up
California.
here. He put it up here in Texas.
And saying that it is legal here in California. But here's what Proposition 1 would do. It will pay for people's travel, their lodging, and their abortion. It is...
I don't know about that. I don't think it'll pay for their abortion. There are like laws in place that make it very difficult to get like state money or federal money for an abortion. Maybe. I mean, maybe on a state level it would work differently, but I have to imagine it would be pretty difficult to get that to work.
Is evil personified in politics.
So, David, what that means then, if they will pay for it, is that the taxpayer dollars are actually going to pay people to go to California? So you're paying for an abortion.
Your taxes are going.
Your taxes.
No, they're not. It's actually against the law on a federal level for taxes to go toward abortion right now. Now, in California, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know California law very well, but not federally. That's just complete fabricated nonsense by the far-right extremists who are obsessed with making you believe that like they're the victim of everything and that the left is trying to sacrifice babies to Satan and they're like drinking adrenochrome and the whole 9 yards, like borderline QAnon stuff.
Are paying for that abortion.
Even if you're pro-life.
Let that sink in for a moment. And
I would let that sink in if it were real.
I used to live in Orange County and loved California, and there are a lot of great people, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But this is huge. This is massive. Now, obviously not living in California, I don't know how much airplay Proposition 1 got, but I heard nothing about Prop 1. When they said Prop 1, I saw that today, and I'm like, what was that?
Well, part of it is just the culture, and we have 15 million evangelicals in California.
Doesn't Prop 1, doesn't the ballot explain what Prop 1 is? Like on the ballot itself when you go to vote for it? It appears as though it just enshrines the right to choose in the state constitution. But what's the big deal? It's pretty straightforward and simple.
More than any state except for Texas. And yet they're so woke, they're so passive, and really, it's really...
So woke, oh my God, it's woke, wokeism, it's infected everything.
The church in Laodicea, they're just lukewarm. Yeah. And Jesus said, I would rather have you hot, just love me with all your heart, or cold, at least you could get saved then.
Right.
But if you're lukewarm, it just makes me sick to my stomach. And it made me sick just to see how the turnout. And now I am optimistic. And by the way, just seeing the opening show really brought encouragement to me because, you know, it's true. I believe that we'll take the House. We knew that. But I was expecting a red wave, to be honest. And I didn't see that. But you know what? I was just thinking if we had that red wave, we would have just, again, sat back in our laurels.
Sure.
And just say, hey, you know, that's like 2020. And then get past it for the next 2022 election, and I just feel like God is saying, no, I'm disciplining you. I'm training you to be my bride without spot or wrinkle. And so...
God, this is creepy when they talk about being Jesus's bride. Like, why? I don't understand. They talk about this a lot. In fact, I covered this just the other day. Kat Kerr, a supposed prophet of God, claims that in heaven, everybody will be married to Jesus as his bride, and they will even consummate their relationship. Seriously, that's what she said.
So that we will be engaged until Jesus Christ comes back. Amen. We have to occupy, do business until he returns. And so...
This is Christian nationalism. We have to occupy until Jesus comes back, i.e., We need to take control of the political system in the United States and turn it into a Christian nationalist state. That's the whole idea they're laying out for us right now. Just got a message. The Hyde Amendment makes it so public funding cannot go toward abortion federally. States can make regulations that require their Medicaid programs to cover abortion care. So, I mean, that means basically states can choose to allow their public health care to cover it. Some circuits have held that providing coverage for pregnancy and childbirth, but not abortion, is a violation of equal protection and substantive due process, like State v. Planned Parenthood of Alaska and women and so on and so forth. So anyway, there's a little information on it. The Hyde Amendment prevents this from being a problem, what they're describing here. And what happened to states' rights? Remember all that garbage about states' rights to own slaves and all that other stuff that they talk about constantly? What happened? I thought they were in favor of states' rights, weren't they? Suddenly they're against states' rights. Weird how that flips suddenly and inexplicably. They were never for states' rights, guys. They were never in favor of states' rights. They were in favor of control. They were in favor of pushing through policies that they wanted and coming up with BS propaganda that they could use against gullible suckers. That's what it's always been about.
I'm glad in many ways because it's a wake-up call. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was quoting John Paul Jackson, "I've just begun to fight."
Yeah.
Who the holy frick is John Paul Jackson? John Paul Jackson. I never heard that person before.
I'm rolling up my sleeves as a pastor in California, and I just putting my hand to the plow, not looking back.
Gene, let me ask something.
Yep.
I'm putting my hand to your mom. Nerical, thank you so much for becoming a member. And onward, absolutely.
Real quick, because what Shay said about the church has not been a voice on this. What we saw on election night, there were 5 states that had abortion initiatives: California, Michigan, Prop 3. We had 5 of the states: Vermont, California, Michigan, Kentucky, and Montana. All 5 went pro-abortion, including.
Hey, that's states' rights, baby. You remember states' rights? That thing that you screech about constantly? That's what it's all about.
Including 2 pro-life states that usually would not do that. What we saw on that night was the Democrats put $410 million into abortion itself. Now, abortion in the national polling was not showing as a big issue. Number 1 in polling was what was happening with the economy. Number 2 is crime. And yet, when you look at the exit polls out of Pennsylvania, the number 1 issue of all voters, 36%, was abortion. And then it dropped to 11% for the economy and 10% for crime.
Wow.
And so they drove.
So what he's pointing out here, he's talking about the reasons that people purported to vote for this thing or that thing or this candidate or that candidate. And he's saying abortion was the biggest issue in the election, followed by the economy at 11%, and then followed by crime at 10%. And he doesn't seem to understand why crime and the economy are so low. I'll tell you why they're so low. The reason is because they're fabricated issues. Yeah, the economy is a little bit rough right now. Significantly better than it was under Donald Trump's reign or presidency or whatever. By a mile. It is way better than under Donald Trump. So yeah, it could be better, absolutely. But looking to a Republican for that solution is obviously not something people are intuitively doing, first of all. Now, the second thing he said there, the economy and crime. Yeah, that's just fabricated nonsense. Crime is not as out of control as Republicans want people to think it is. It's just culture war bullshit. I live in New York City, and I feel perfectly safe here. I've never been mugged. I've never been attacked. I never worry about anything here, honestly. So it's just more culture war stuff. So what they're doing is trying to gauge how much their culture war bullshit is working, and they've come to find that it's not really working that well. So anyway, let's keep listening here.
Of abortion way up here, and our guys weren't here. And what I've been really struck with from Abby Johnson, other abortion folks that are now Christians and on the other side is, I went to church for years. I was this kind of a Christian, Baptist, Methodist, and my pastor never told me abortion's wrong.
Yeah, this is a line straight from Abby Johnson. It makes sense that your pastor would never tell you that abortion is wrong because, as a matter of fact, the Bible doesn't say abortion is wrong. In fact, it tells you to get an abortion at certain parts. If you think your wife's cheated on you, you're supposed to bring her to the priest to get an abortion. There are a number of verses in there that completely reverse what Republicans seem to believe about abortion. And I don't know how they're not using Bible verses to justify hating abortion. They're just talking shit about it and claiming that you have to hate it if you are a Christian. It just blows me away. It has nothing to do with Christianity. They just claim that it does.
So we're looking at 384,000 senior pastors in churches in America. Only 2.8% of those pastors will talk about issues like abortion.
Okay. I don't trust his numbers at all. I don't know that he's even telling the truth, first of all. And second, if that were true, good. Abortion has nothing to do with Christian values or the Bible at all. The Bible at no point could possibly be misinterpreted to say it does not support abortion. Honestly, I don't know how they got here.
So you're not going to get it from the culture.
Wait a minute. Back at how many? What percentage?
384,000 churches and senior pastors in America, 2.8%. You're not going to get it from the schools, because we know the schools are going the wrong direction.
The schools don't talk about abortion at all.
And you're not going to get it from media, because 410 million into the abortion side, Republicans did not counter that at all. So you're getting one side, and the Gen Z folks who voted, and they voted in very high numbers in election night, they voted overwhelmingly pro-abortion because they're not getting it from pastors, and pastors aren't getting it to parents, and parents aren't getting it to the kids. The church has got to step up and address these things.
And not just the church, it's pastors. Because in Joel 2:28 it says, afterwards I'll pour out my spirit upon all flesh, your sons and daughters will prophesy. After what? Well, it says earlier, it says, return to the Lord with all your heart. That word return, the Hebrew word is shuv, which means to repent with all your heart. And then it says, let the pastors or the ministers or the priests weep between the porch and the altar and say, spare your people, Lord. Don't make us just a byword. And we're just a byword right now. We're just a laughingstock. And yet we're the answer to our society's problem. We're the salt and
They believe that they're the answer to society's problems. Did you catch that? They are the answer to society's problems.
The light of the world. And so if the pastors would repent, this is God's remedy. He said, if my people, not Congress, not the White House, but my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways. And I want to just say that's strong, but there's evil in the church. There's compromise. Yeah. And if they will turn, I'll hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. California needs to be healed. Yeah. I mean, the drought, literally, we're seeing the blessing and the favor of God left off our state. We pay the highest taxes. It's ridiculous. I just went up to Northern California, and premium is still, at this state, even with Biden boasting that he's dropped a $1 plus off, I'm paying $6.80 for premium, and it's just like...
Okay, I don't know that that's true. $6.80 for premium. Why pick premium? Anyways, like anybody ever uses premium. I've never used premium in my life, first of all. And second, where exactly? $6.80? I mean, we're talking, this is 2 days after the election. I don't believe you. I'm sorry. This is all just culture war nonsense. And the weird thing is that these are pastors. This is supposed to be like a religious thing that we're listening to. Why have they so inextricably linked religion and politics to each other like this? Gas prices are a religious issue now?
This is madness. It's insanity when we compare to under Trump. We're energy independent.
All right. I know
we were not energy independent under Donald Trump.
Chad, nice having you here.
I was just saying, in a political sense, If you think it's bad in the church, the consultants are telling these people right now, all these candidates, oh, look what happens when you talk about abortion. No, no, no. We message poorly. We ought to be putting them on their heels saying, this is an extremist position. They want to kill a baby up to the time of birth.
Nobody wants to do that. You live in a fantasy land.
We ought to put them on their heels instead of us allowing that. But the consultant class, I've been around all of them. I've been in the room with all of them. They're telling all these candidates, look what happens. But they're not pointing out my Governor McMaster or Governor DeSantis and all the other governors who passed strong pro-life legislation this time and signed those bills into law. And instead of playing offense and saying they're the ones who are extremists, we're apologizing for it. So the worldview problem extends into the consulting class.
Yeah, so they think that the reason that they lost was the abortion issue. I'm actually not completely convinced that that's the reason that they lost in the midterms. In my opinion, the abortion issue is the thing that made turnout so high. The abortion issue was scary enough to people to motivate them to get out to the polls in the first place. But in my opinion, I mean, I'm not a political consultant. I don't know any of this stuff. It's just some jagoff's idea of what's going on. Just keep that in mind. I think it drove high turnout, abortion did. But the thing that people really voted on was Donald Trump and election denialism and whether or not people are election deniers or skeptics or whatever you want to call them. That's my suspicion. That's how I think that this played out. But isn't it convenient how they're completely ignoring that whole election skepticism part? They're like pretending that didn't factor into anything at all, and then continuing to spread election conspiracies.
Far worse than it does in the church.
We got to go to a break.
Okay,
We'll come back to that. All right, so it's not just California, it's all of America. So even we've been discussing today, what is Flashpoint's role? Now we've got a couple of days past election. What is it that we need to do? And what you're laying out is exactly what we need to do. We thought we've been effective with pastors. We've only been marginally effective. And so that's great. We celebrate the wins, but we've got so much more to do. We got a lot of education to do. And ladies and gentlemen, this bus is still rolling. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're going to get after it. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, much more about your state, what we can do, and your veterans. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
These people are a joke. They have no idea what's going on, honestly. Despite the fact that they pay for the most expensive and talented and experienced political analysts and operatives, they don't seem to have any clue what's going on around them. And it just blows me away. Like, how do you have this much money and be so fucking clueless? How does this happen? I just don't get it. That was the end of part one. Let me know what you think about this. If you want to see more stuff like this in the comments or on Twitter @TelltaleAtheist. I thought that was pretty interesting.